I'm Elisa Parker. It is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival here at the Media Lounge. We're based in downtown Nevada City and also Grass Valley, California. You can still catch films actually this evening, this afternoon, even tomorrow we have Locals Night as well. We've been connecting with filmmakers, special guests, subjects of the film, and also the people who support this festival and make it happen and are integrated with our filmmakers. Some of our sponsors, like SC Johnson. So excited to have them supporting the festival. And we have Jeff Bezzo. Is that right, Jeff?
That's right.
It's like the Italian way. Bezzo. Plastic Czar. I'm going to call you the Plastic Czar.
That's awesome.
That's probably the official way. I know what's your long title? Executive Director of Plastic
Sustainability, and the Plastic Czar story came from our chairman who offered me this job a couple of years ago and said, would you like to be my Plastic Czar? So sometimes he still calls me the Plastic Czar.
Well, so how did you get into that in the first place where you were called out to serve in that position?
So I've worked for the company for almost 28 years. Next month will be 28 years. I started with the Canadian subsidiary and done a number of jobs within the company. I was working out in San Francisco. You might know our Method and Mrs. Meyer's brands. We run those out of the San Francisco office. And when I was coming back from San Francisco, the chairman asked me, what do you want to do next? And since I've been in the industry so long and, I just really at this point in my career wanted to give back. And he said, how about you be our Plastic Czar and do all things related to plastic sustainability and our packaging.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Were you involved and engaged with the plastic bag legislation that went through some years ago?
Not that specific legislation, but we are heavily involved in what's called extended producer responsibility, which is basically where producers start taking financial and operational responsibility for packaging that we put into the market. California launches its EPR in 2027, so January next year we'll have that legislation kick in. And we've been involved both in Oregon, who's just launched, and also Colorado, which launched in January in that legislation.
Have you been to Wild and Scenic before?
We were here last year. We did our first film that was accepted into a film festival in the series that is here again this year, The Human Side of Plastic. So we featured Babacar, a surfer from Senegal that is collecting plastic, and we learned a little bit about the festivals, and we really wanted to play a bigger role this year with the film that we have on Abbey Barrows.
What a fantastic example of how a company who's made this part of their mission to incorporate that with the storytellers and the solutionaries, I'm going to call them solutionaries, who are doing that. So, where did that idea come from?
So we've always been, we've had sustainability at our core. We're a private company. The fifth generation runs the company today, and we have the sixth generation in it. So sustainability has been one of our pillars, but a few years ago we realized that our voluntary actions weren't going to be enough that we do on recycled content and refill systems. We really need more legislation and consumer awareness around driving. We'd love to see federal legislation like you're going to have in California. And one of the ways we thought that we could get the message across was to tell stories about plastic waste, but not just in a way that is short of solutions. We want to showcase people that are actually taking action like we are as a company. So Abbey's a great example of somebody that's taking action in their own part of the world, in this case in Maine, to reduce plastic waste.
So I mentioned earlier that I connected with Ben Ayers and Rush Sturges, both who were involved in that film. And so I was excited to learn more just about your both experience in that, insight, like how much with SC Johnson are you consulting and providing information? That's a big part of filmmaking now too, that we have the experts, the nonprofit organizations and so forth to feed in to make sure we have accurate information.
Yeah, it's been amazing working with Ben and Rush. Ben has a real curiosity. I think he knows as much about plastic as I do now. But I end up doing a lot of fact checking on the back end and advice on, where we want to spotlight issues and that sort of thing. I've been fascinated by the whole filmmaking process and learned a lot, over the last couple of years working with them.
And with Abbey, had you connected with her before? And by the way, Abbey microplastics are everywhere. And so this film, which is featured in Maine, highlights that, the story, she's doing research and finding the microplastics. But then she also talks, it also features her solution around oysters. Maybe you can say a little bit more about that, but what was that relationship like to make all the connections happen?
It's interesting. We worked with Abby a couple of years ago. We actually funded some research that she was doing on microplastics in the air. So she was testing off of boats what amount of microplastics were in the air. So that's when we first got introduced to her. Ben actually sought her out as well, though, because she's got a unique story where she's not just a microplastic researcher, she's running a plastic-free oyster farm, and she's really experimenting with solutions that get away from plastic, because that fishing industry has traditionally relied on ropes and other materials that are plastic based, and she's really trying to change and show a different trajectory for fishing in that area. So
I love the synergistic relationship that SC Johnson has developed here. Is that somewhat new for the company, or is that, you said, what did you say it was 5th generation?
It is,
okay.
Yeah. So a 130-year-old company, just to give you an idea, that started with parquet floors in Wisconsin and then moved into other products. But we have partners like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, WWF, Conservation International. There's a number of partners we work with, and it's really to try to build a network of advocates for this legislative work that we're doing, both here in the States and globally.
Okay, you're building a coalition.
We are.
That's
absolutely.
So unusual, too, for a corporation.
Yes.
To do that and have that role. What can you give us an idea, too, with the company? What are some of the company goals regarding plastic? I mean, obviously, in addition to the films we see about plastics, microplastics, it can feel really daunting, disturbing, overwhelming. Can you shed some hope in this for us?
Absolutely. So 2019 or so, we committed to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation 2025 commitment. That was to have 25% recycled content globally in our packaging. We hit that goal, and the 2030 commitment just launched back last fall, and we've committed to 55% recycled content. So that's one example. We collect plastic in Southeast Asia, where it pervasively enters the ocean because of the lack of recycling. We just hit the equivalent of 6 billion bottles collected, and we turn those back into Windex and method bottles. So we're heavily involved in turning bottles back into the same packaging format. We're involved in refill and reuse as well, with a number of pilots around the world. We do about 10% of our volume in refill formats today. And then, as I mentioned, the advocacy piece, we've gotten a lot more engaged both federally and then with the global plastic treaty negotiations. I've been to the last 3 rounds, and we're hopeful that can start to get momentum again.
That's fantastic, Jeff. I'm assuming this has also been a good economic driver for the company too. Right? In the long run, hopefully?
We absolutely hope that it's the right thing to do from a sustainability and circularity perspective. We don't really market our products based on these actions that we're taking. It could be seen as a competitive disadvantage because PCR or recycled content costs more than virgin materials, but we believe it's the right thing to do. And so we just hope that we can get all companies, consumers, and governments to move in the same direction.
Wow, now you're a pioneer. Serving as the pioneer, the plastic czar.
We're doing our best.
What do you want to say to everyone real quick about why it's so important to care about this and how we can all be engaged and be part of the solution?
Yeah, I think, all of us can make small changes in our own lives, whether it's, choosing a fabric that is a natural fabric. But ultimately, without reaching out to our legislators, it's really difficult to get change at a macro scale. So what we want to do is drive awareness, and then hopefully we get advocates along the way that at the right moments will come along the journey with us, join our movement, and actually, drive legislative change around the world for plastic waste reduction.
Wow. So great to meet you, Jeff. And this is an inspiration. It seems revolutionary. I love the collaboration, the partnership. I love that you're incorporating this with storytellers, and we appreciate your support of Wild and Scenic, and we can't wait to do more with you and hopefully see you next year.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right. Jeff, thank you so much. I'm Elisa Parker. It is the Wild and Scenic Film Fest Media Lounge. and we'll be right back. That was awesome. That's